What areas in Utah County have seen the largest year-over-year increases and decreases in sales price? That is what I'm talking about today. I had people reach out to me that enjoyed the video I did last week on Salt Lake County, so I wanted to bring you Utah County. And shocking, the numbers have bigger increases and decrease percentages than even Salt Lake County did. So stay tuned. Hi, this is Melissa Ballman, and I'm a real estate agent here in the greater Salt Lake City area. So what that means, if you're looking at making a real estate move, I'd love to connect with you. Shoot me a text, send me an email, do what you got to do, but get in touch with me. But first, today is all about Utah County, and we are going to take a look at the year-over-year increases in each zip code from 2022 to 2023. And I will give you this little caveat is we're looking at January 1st to March 15th of 22 compared to 23. Now, today is only March 23rd. So there is a chance that there are some, maybe a handful of sales that are not reported yet to the MLS that could change these numbers a little bit. So I'm going to talk about the 5 zip codes that lost the most in sales price year over year, but then I'm also going to show you the increases. So let's take a look. Okay, so the first zip code we are going to take a look at is Cedar Fort. And you can see here on Google Maps where Cedar Fort area is. Cedar Fort, Cedar Valley. It's just west of Eagle Mountain. And this is one that I'm not going to jump a lot into detail because I do think this is a very unique situation when you only have 2 sales each year. And I double checked and triple checked these numbers just to make sure this was correct. But nonetheless, I said I was going to share every zip code. So what happened in Cedar Fort with this difference in sales price from 22 to 23? As I said, 2 sales each year, but what happened in 2022 was there was a 6.6 acre lot that was sold for $1.3 million. So that drastically increased the average sales price for 2022, whereas our 2 sales in 2023 are more back into that normal range of 450 to 550. So just like I said, they had the largest decrease in average sales price, but I kind of weed them out and I wouldn't count that as our number 1 drop. So let's take a look at the next zip code. Okay, so number 2 on our list, really, I'm going to call it number 1 on our list, is Orem at 84097. They had over 21% decrease in the average sales price from 22 to 23. And you can see the numbers here. Again, you can see what part of Orem it is, more kind of the east part of Orem. Take a look here at their 2022 sales compared to 2023. They've actually sold more units this year than they did last year. However, their average sales price is decreasing. So it's not a matter of some of these other zip codes. You'll see we're selling far fewer units in 23 than we are in 22. That's not the case here for this Orem zip code. So let's take a look at the next zip code. Okay, so next you can see here, we have the Lehigh Saratoga Springs area with zip code 84043. Now, Google Maps is saying that part of this is in Eagle Mountain. I can tell you the sales from 22 to 23 with these zip codes during these time frames did not have Eagle Mountain. So I'm going to put this over it because it's not really relevant to this area. So they decreased over $100,000, which was equivalent to almost a 19% decrease in the average sales price. But take a look at the number of sales for 23 compared to 22. And one of the reasons for that is these areas are exploding with new construction. So if you're familiar or not familiar with Lehigh at all, there is a ton of new construction all in this area, right off 2100 North. Lots of condos, lots of townhouses. And same thing with this part of Saratoga Springs, a lot of new construction. So they are selling and closing a lot of houses this year still compared to last year. But look at the difference in price. It's just goes to support what I've said a while back in one of my other videos, that new construction might be the place to go to get the best deals. And of course, this isn't all new construction, but it does speak volumes knowing these areas, knowing how much new construction is happening in these areas, and to see that substantial of a decrease in sales price. So let's jump to the next zip code. Okay, so next on our list is the southern part of Utah County, Spanish Fork, Lakeshore, Benjamin area. And you can kind of see it here in the red outline of that area. Now, they had just over a 17% decrease in the average sales price from 555, almost 556 in 22, compared to right now just under 458,000. Now they do have fewer sales in the area, not substantial amount of difference, but a good amount. And Spanish Fork in this area is actually got a lot of new construction as well as what we just talked about with Lehigh and Saratoga Springs. But you also have a lot of rural area out here in the mountains. So that can be contributing to that lower sales price as well. Okay, so next on our list, zip code 84003, and that's the American Fork Highland area. You can see outlined here in red, just south of Salt Lake County. And their average sales price decreased just under 15% year over year, dropping from about $695,000 down to just over $593,000, just over 593,000 if I said that wrong. And again, their sales, they are selling less this year than they did last year. However, not, again, a substantial amount when you look at the number of units, 137 compared to 118. And Highland is an area that has a lot of more expensive houses. So I feel like this is probably a pretty good balance with this zip code being shared with American Fork. So of course, you can always look into particular cities. However, what I found with Salt Lake City is when you do that, it can really skew where your pluses and your minuses are. So that is why I'm looking at per zip code. Now, I just want to talk about one more zip code, and then I'll show you the entire list for Utah County of all of the zip codes that saw a negative or a decrease in the average sales price this year. And then we're going to talk about the ones that saw an increase. Okay, so our next one is Provo 84601, and their average sales price from 2022 being just under $439,000 dropped to just under $380,000. So a 13%, just over 13% decrease in the average sales price. But take a look at the sales numbers. You're talking almost half of the sales in 2023 compared to what they sold in 2022. So pretty big drop in how many sales are occurring in this area. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of these zip codes really quick. So you can see here that, you know, Saratoga Springs were about 9% decrease. And I'm just going to leave this up here for a second so you can take a look at it. But one of the things that I did highlight in the number of sales was those zip codes that are actually reporting more sales in 23 compared to 2022, so that you can take a look at it. But also, I want to mention, look at Eagle Mountain here on line 14. So they saw just over a 3% decrease in the sales price in 23 compared to 2022. But look at the units sold, 252 compared to 170. Eagle Mountain has a ton of new construction. So I'm a little bit surprised that the numbers have dropped that much. I expected it to be more even, or kind of like what we even saw with Lehigh and Saratoga Springs, where there was an increase. However, Eagle Mountain does have a lot of new construction that is single family homes, whereas this area in Lehigh, on line 4, I know there was a ton of condos. So that could be the difference. And that is just with the interest rates this year compared to last year and the affordability factor. Lehigh might be outselling just for the simple fact of people can get into condos and maybe not afford those prices in Eagle Mountain for the single family homes. And then this one kind of cut off here, but you have Orem Vineyard area with just under 1% or just over 1% decrease. And then you have Alberta down in the south end of Utah County as well, that they had no sales since 2021. So, they're at the bottom of the list because they had no data to report. So let's take a look at the increases. And I'm going to show these to you all at once because there weren't actually a lot of zip codes in Utah County that had an increase, but there were some substantial increases. So let's take a look at these. Okay, one other thing I want to point out real quick before we talk about the gains is Alpine here. And you can see, these homes are $1.5 million plus average sales price both years. So while they did have a 6.7% decrease in their average sales price, or $100,000 basically decrease from 22 to 23, they are selling more units out there. And 2 units at the price point you see in Alpine, it's a pretty good amount. I mean, you see big custom homes out here, $6 million, $7 million homes sometimes being sold that are just newly constructed. So, okay, so let's take a look at the gains. So you have Vineyard here with a 32% increase. And I take this with a grain of salt because look at the difference in the number of sales between 2022 and 2023. A huge drop in sales. However, the sales price has gone up substantially, about $150,000 increase in sales price from 22 compared to 23. Next, we have Mapleton, not too far behind with over 25% increase. And they're actually selling more units this year than they did last year, with their average sales price reaching over $850,000 in Mapleton. Now, just to back up really quick, back to Vineyard, I forgot to mention this. In 2022, there was a ton of condos and townhouses sold, which contributes to that 110 units sold. Whereas in 2023, those 18 units are more single family homes. So perhaps they had a couple of builders just have a bunch of homes ready before the end of the year, or townhouses, and that made the difference. And then moving into Mapleton, the other thing that I want to point out with the 858,000 is in 2023, they've already had 2 sales that were $1.6 to $1.9 million. And in 2022, they only had 1 sale that was like $1.2 million. So that is also contributing to that increase this year. Next, we have Provo Sundance. Now, there was only actually 1 house in the zip code 84604, that is considered the city of Sundance. So take that, we had 40 sales in 2023 that were Provo and one that was Sundance. Next, you have Pleasant Grove, Cedar Hills at 6.21% increase in sales price. And then you have the Payson Elk Ridge area in the southern part of Utah County with a just over 2% increase. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video today. If you have any questions regarding any of the data that I shared with you, or you want to maybe know what is happening in your area that you're looking to sell your house, or maybe that you're looking at buying in, reach out to me. I'm happy to go over it with you. And if you're looking at buying or selling in any of the Salt Lake area or Utah County area, reach out to me. I am always here to help, but as always, make it a great day.